Traces show you what is happening during the single execution. So for example, when you have API endpoints and the user hits your API endpoint, the API endpoint would create a trace, and this starts with the API hit itself. But then within that trace, we can have multiple spans, and those spans represent operations during the call. So for example, when you're loading API endpoint, you may hit the database multiple times. So each hit to the database would create a new span. And let's see in this place, for example, we see the traces of sample to-do application. And in this column, next to operation, we can see different API endpoints were called. We want to see the slow ones. So what we can do, we can order by duration. And we can see that sometimes it was to do delete, but usually it was to-do list. So we can click on this one to see only to-do list for this one. And then we can go into one of the traces, which took a long time, to see what happened during that call. So this was an API call to get to-do list. And during that execution, the Mongo database was called multiple times, and we can see those as spans in this place. We can see in this blue line as a duration. So the main trace was taking 900 milliseconds, and it started with the API call itself. Then we have a bunch of MongoDB operations, and each of them were taking approximately 150 milliseconds each. We can see that all those database calls happen one after another uh, from this graph. When you select one of those spans, it is MongoDB span, so we can see the database statement as well, what exactly was happening on the database. If we would be missing some kind of index, the database span would be taking a longer time, and this is how we can see exactly what is taking a long time. So if we go to the traces view again, inside of it, we can see over time. In this case, I'm looking for the last 5 minutes on second interval. We can see traces with errors, durations, average durations, and everything else. We have extended search options, search by time, and search by all kind of things coming from the trace itself. So just by looking at the traces and ordering them by duration, we can see exactly what kind of API endpoints are causing issues, slow in the app. And then we can go into each individual trace to see what is happening exactly during that API call. That's how it is super easy for a developer to debug what is the bottleneck inside the app and fix that.